Hello, this is Donna Gayward. I'm the project coordinator for Birth to Five Matters, and we are recording a series of podcasts which are case studies of people who are already using Birth to Five Matters. And I'm joined today by Tim. So Tim, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us where you work and what your setting is?
Hi Donna, I'm Tim Hopkins. I'm a Strategic Development Manager for Humpty Dumpty Day Nurseries Limited. We're a small group of family-owned settings, and we have four nurseries, day nurseries, and 7 wraparound care clubs based in the Midlands. I was really honoured to be part of the writing group for Birth to Five Matters. As someone who works on the ground with children and families and staff every single day.
Brilliant. So you're a day nursery. That means you open from 7 or something like that, or 8 till 6? And
we open from 7:30 till 6 Monday to Friday, all year round. We take children from around about 3 months. It tends to be more like 6 to 9 months, and they stay with us in our settings, or they can stay with us right the way up until they start their reception year at school. And we do have children and learners in our settings who do stay slightly beyond that time for many reasons.
Okay, so you have, that's interesting. So you have people who've deferred their school places as well.
Yes, yeah, and we're quite passionate about the fact that we'll be absolutely inclusive for everybody, and at any point, if we don't feel we can meet those needs, we've had that conversation beforehand, and we'll be part of that process to make sure that the next destination is ready and right. So we found an increase in children staying with us beyond that that kind of statutory school age.
I think we're going off topic, but I think that's a national picture. Certainly in my experience, that's happening more and more.
Yeah, for sure.
So today we're going to be talking about your practitioners, your staff using the Birth to Five Matters guidance. So I've got 3 questions, really simple questions for you. So what's been going well using the guidance?
For us, we'll take the kind of learning and development section first, if that's okay, because staff have been using routinely since 2012 Development Matters, obviously produced by Early Education. Although there's the big shift towards ranges, it was actually building on some knowledge and experience that practitioners had. So it kind of wasn't scary. There was nothing removed a whole hog from there. So that was kind of good, because an awful lot of people do fear change or struggle with that change, and that's the adults that we work with, as of course, as well as the children, as we know.
So can I just ask you, sorry, so what you're saying is, because you as a setting had used the previous Development Matters, the 2012 one, the move to Birth to Five Matters wasn't as scary as maybe people think it might be?
Yeah, I think certainly. I think some of the fear that could be left over is because it is a document that has not been produced by the Department for Education. But the one thing that I would like to say is, and it could be said that I'm biased, but we have looked at Development Matters 2021, and we use resources that are affiliated to that through the Department for Education website and various ways of networking, because everything has its place. That work was based on research just like Birth to Five Matters, but we found that because practitioners daily use those learning and development sections, and that's where getting some of their core knowledge from those practitioners that are with us that are 16 years old, and they finished school in May this year, and you know, they're hitting the ground running to try and get their knowledge base as broad as they can, because they want to be, you know, fully contributing as part of a team. But also it's there as a really good aid memoir for those staff that have that experience. It's a good go-to place. So we really found for nearly all of our practitioners that it was certainly less scary once they had sight of it and they've been able to look at it and use it. And because it's not prescriptive, they're still able to do what's right for the children, which is at the heart of everything that I'm sure every early years practitioner is doing.
Yeah, that's good. So what's going well is the transition between the old Development Matters 2012 to Birth to Five Matters hasn't been that difficult for you, and it's offering a good resource for all your staff. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, there's something that I'd like to say, you know, to anyone, no matter where they are in their, you know, post September 1st, 2021 journey, we're still on that journey. I'm not going to say that we're there and we won't change and we won't tweak what we do, because that's the fab thing about early years and working with children. Children very rarely want to have the same day every single day. And as practitioners, we have to be really attuned to that, you know, we can move like water, and we can make sure that environment is completely suitable for that group of children to help them get the best out of their time with us. But we've also found something that's really, really positive is those extra pieces of information that are accessible to everybody. So if I kind of take the you know, the document that can be printed off as a PDF or ordered as hard copies from early education and other member organisations, is we've had staff who've actually taken the time and they've read those pieces of information. You know, something that was new and could have been quite scary around self-regulation, and they've taken, you know, those couple of pages, and then they've gone onto the Birth to Five Matters website. They've looked at, well, who was part of that group. They've used the kind of the glossary for anything they may have been unsure about, and they've really, really looked to develop their own knowledge base to make sure that they really are meeting the needs of their learners. And that's been fantastic to see. You know, where we might have judged early and thought that we'd have to do quite a bit of scaffolded work or kind of more formal CPD with staff. Actually, they've really, really taken ownership of this move. And whilst we've done lots as a group of settings, they're kind of helping us set the agenda for what we might need to go to next. Brilliant. To almost have a plan for next year's apprentices that will join us, for example, or I see, the next, you know, the next group of volunteers or student teachers that we might have coming to work in our settings, where time can be quite precious. And just like the work with the children, you need to make sure that you're using those opportunities well. And that's been a great thing as well. That's been really Brilliant. Positive.
So can I ask you now, we've talked about all the great things, so what have the challenges been?
I think initially some questions, and I love a question, and I like to be challenged, and so do the people in our team, so in our senior leadership team, of it's non-statutory, so why have you chosen it? And it could be said, well, you know, three colleagues, including myself, were in different groups helping to construct and build and write Birth to Five Matters. But actually, it was around what our workforce and our children deserved for us. And that was that we talk a lot about not missing opportunities, I think I probably said it already, and not to sound like a stuck record, but every single minute is precious that we have with those children. That's why their families choose us to look after their children and to work with them as early educators to make sure that they get the best and are the most well prepared. The same for staff that join us. They put a lot of faith in us as a company and a leadership team to make sure that their experience is going to be as good as going to work can be. But actually the questions, we spent quite a bit of time talking to them about that. So it was almost that these are the two documents that kind of are there that you could pick from if you weren't going to write something completely yourself. We're not a specialist setting, so we're not Montessori, we're not Reggio Emilia. So it was very much that this is what we were going to use. We're going to build on what we know from Development Matters 2012. And we did talk to them about it. And because of the amount of information, contained in, 100 and odd pages, they got much more than they did from Vertified Matters than they were going to from Development Matters 2021, with the kind of stopping off point nature of the learning and development sections. So that kind of initial, well, why are we making this decision? Is that right? That took some time, but all the best things can take time. So we turned it into a positive.
So are there any sort of practical challenges, or is it mainly been the kind of philosophical challenge?
Yeah, I think it's been a philosophical challenge more than anything. I think something that could have been a negative but hasn't been is parental expectation around the statutory framework. Has prompted this look at early years practice around workload reduction, but to increase one-to-one opportunities between adults and children. And because of some of the tick list nature of how some methods of working had become, to produce this graph and that graph and this bit of data that we've
tracking data.
Yeah, we've steered clear from for a number of years. But it was there in essence in people that we were working with and staff we were recruiting. Is parents sort of kind of thought, well, if my page is full of links to Development Matters, my child's almost having a better experience. Whereas now we've spent a lot of time with our parents that, yes, the observations may be less frequent, but look at what you're getting kind of from, we use an online diary system, or look at actually, what your child is coming home and telling you about what they've done and who was involved in what was happening in your room, in your preschool, in your out of school club, for example, and having those high quality interactions has been fantastic. And some of our senior members of staff, so our group leaders or senior kind of like a department leads, if you like, they have spent so little time completing paperwork that was really only there because we'd constructed it. And now we've been able to take that time and unpick why we're doing what we're doing. They've almost felt actually they're doing what they loved, why they come to work, which is to have those conversations with Bobby and and Stevie and Jenny and move forward and do that work and actually see it through, rather than getting kind of stuck in the mud with, I need to think about this medium-term plan and that medium-term plan, and let's look at this assessment and actually it was for a mythical reason. It was never going to be called upon. It was almost this nature that we were back covering, and we really didn't need to be, and that's been quite liberating for staff.
That is really interesting. So, um, what advice would you give to other practitioners? I know when we were talking, you were sort of saying that you think quite a lot of people are still undecided where to go. But for practitioners who might want to think about using Birth to Five Matters, what advice would you give them from your perspective?
I think the first kind of not advice, but thing to say is it's okay to not know exactly where you're going at this point in time. We're almost in this period of amazing flux in early years, where we're being given all these opportunities to really think about what we're doing and why it is best. There's no one size fits all. But the one positive thing and kind of piece of advice around using Birth to Five Matters as a tool in your settings, no matter how big or small you are. So kind of our smallest setting is 24 place. Our biggest setting is 210. So the difference between how that is managed and run effectively, that you can't compare. But the principles, the foundations that Birth to Five give for an apprentice who is 3-4 months out of school with life experience, but not in the working world and not working one-to-one with children, compared to someone who's got 20 years of post-qualifying experience, kind of NNEB, has done all the age phases you could imagine, has got their own families, etc. They have found the document immensely useful, even if it was only for them to self-validate what they are doing, to build on their practice, to show those less experienced practitioners. But because they're all starting off in one sense at the same place, September 1st arrived, we've got a new statutory framework, we've got a couple of non-statutory guidances bobbing around there. They're all doing it together. And I do sort of think what a fab time to be working in a team that are working together to construct something that probably isn't completely new, because we haven't thrown out all the amazing things we used to do. We're just building on those and having, a group of 100 or so experts in the field or practitioners on the ground writing something that validates that is fantastic. And I just think that it's been a great experience on the whole for us.
Brilliant. That's really helpful. So thank you so much. That's just a small bite size, really, but hopefully the people who are listening will find that helpful. So thank you, Tim, for joining me today.
No, thank you for the invite, and thank you for the fab work that you're doing as the new project lead as well. It's fantastic.
Thanks.